Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. We're going to continue on with our lecture series. This is the lecture on 4.6 in John Blakely's textbook online. This is on general factoring strategies. So we've covered a lot of things to way to factor in the last 5 sections. So let's talk about some strategies. How do you do it in general? Like, what do you choose? What's going on? There's a lot going on. Which approach should we take? So step 1, factor out the GCF, greatest common factor, if it exists. If one exists. So look for it. Then step 2, count your terms. If you have 4 terms, you got to try factor by grouping. That's really the only thing we had with 4 terms. 3 terms was a trinomial. This was our ax squared plus bx plus c. You can do it factor by grouping or by trial and error. Factor by grouping or trial and error. Grouping will always work if one exists. Trial and error, you may not get it for a while, if ever. And if there's 2 terms, this is one of our special binomial formulas. So you're looking for either a squared minus b squared is a minus b times a plus b. You're looking for a cubed minus b cubed, which is a minus b, a squared plus ab plus b squared. Or you're looking for a cubed plus b cubed, a plus b, a squared minus ab plus b squared. All right. In this category, given a choice, if you have a choice between squares or cubes, do difference of squares first. All right, once that's done, you'll have 1 step factored. What you need to do now is, for any term that has an exponent greater than 1, you want to check to see if it factors further. Like we saw in a couple of the examples they did. Okay. All right, that's what we're going to do. We got a couple examples. Let's just get through them. So the first example I want to cover is, we'll do 12x. Let's see what we got here. 12x cubed y squared minus 38 x squared y cubed plus 16xy to the 4th. All right, so first things first, look for a greatest common factor. I'm going to just write them down, do the table, and see what we come up with. 12 is 4 times 3, which is 2 times 2 times 3. 38 is 2 times 19. And 16 is 2 times, I guess it doesn't really matter what the rest are. The only greatest common factor number-wise is going to be a 2. So I'll put an 8 over here. Should probably put it in its own column like I've been doing. Then I'll go with the x's. It looks like the lowest exponent on an x is to the first power. This has an extra x squared. That's got an extra x. So we will have an x in the greatest common factor. And it looks like the lowest power on y is y squared. This takes a y squared and then another y squared. So my greatest common factor is 2xy squared. And my table says I've got 6x squared y squared minus 19xy plus 16 or plus 8. Plus 8. Oh, wait. That didn't have the y squared. This had the y squared. There we go. Let's just rewrite that line so it looks a little cleaner. All right, so I've got x squared here. I got a y squared here. We're going to have the xy scenario. I'm going to treat this as 6x squared minus 19x plus 8 in terms of factoring. And then I'm going to add the y in afterwards, like we did before. So I need numbers that multiply to 6 times 8 is 48, but add to negative 19. To add to a negative number, they both need to be negative. So negative 1 and negative 48, add to negative 49. That's not it. 2 and 24 would be next. Negative 26, we're getting closer. 3 goes in 16 times, and that adds to negative 19. So I have 2xy, y squared on the outside. Then I'm going to do this by grouping now. We've got 6x squared minus 3x. It's actually got a y there. And the minus the 16xy. We still got plus 8y squared. Now that I've done that, having the xy in here works because now I can do the factor by grouping pretty well. I've got 2xy squared out here, and I can look to see what they have in common. This has a 3x in common, and what's left over is 2x minus y. This has an 8y in common, and since this is negative, I'm going to take out the negative, so make it a negative 8y. And this will be 2x minus y in here. If you need to, multiply this out and make sure we get back up to here. But I feel pretty good about my work. And finally, we got 2x minus y and 3x minus 8y. And that is our fully factored form. I don't know if I would like doing that by guess and check. All right. Next one. X to the 4th power minus 16. We start off, we don't have a greatest common factor because one's just variables and one's just numbers. After that, we count our terms. We have 2 terms, so this has got to be either a squared minus b squared. Since it's a minus, it tells me it's got to be. So if anything, it's looking like that one. We're looking like a squared minus b squared. So the way to do that is just divide that 4 by 2. And we'll get a 2. That tells me what I need for the exponent here. And what makes 16 when you square it is 4. So when we do difference of squares, we've got x squared minus 4, x squared plus 4. We get to this point, we look at it, we go, the exponents are not 1, they're higher. So we're going to keep going. This is a sum of squares that didn't factor, but this does factor. That's x squared minus 2 squared, which means I can break that into x minus 2 and x plus 2. And the x squared plus 4 just has to stay as it was. And that'll be the final version of x to the 4th minus 16. All right, let's see, what do we got here? This is, I don't even know what this is going to equal. This is a clusterfuck. Look at this clusterfuck. X to the 7th minus 16x to the 4th minus 8x cubed plus 144. What the fuck? All right, let's go through it. This is all letters and this is all numbers, so there's no greatest common factor. After that, we count the terms. We've got 4 terms. We're looking at factoring by grouping. So I'll just start out with these 2 together and these 2 together. Looks like this has an x to the 4th. And this would leave me with x cubed minus 16. And this looks like only, is 144 divisible by 8? Yeah. If I take out an 8, I have x squared. Did I divide by the right thing? Or x cubed minus 18. These don't match, so that wasn't the right grouping. So I'll rearrange it. I'm going to do the first and the third one together, and then the second and the fourth one together. We'll try that form. That didn't work. No, 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 no. We'll do by grouping here. Now an x cubed comes out, and I've got x to the 4th minus 8. And if I take out 144 is divisible by 16, I think. It's left with a 9. Well, look at that. This isn't going to factor. It's just not going to factor. The final combination I can check is doing the x to the 7th with the 144, and then minus 16x to the 4th minus 8x cubed. But this has nothing in common. And this has a minus 8x cubed, which would give us 2x plus 1 left over. But that doesn't give us a 2x plus 1. This doesn't factor. This is prime. How about them apples? That turned out pretty nice. All right, next problem. This says I have something different. Oh, that's why. I wrote down something that I didn't. I wrote down the problem correctly there. Why don't we change this around a little bit? Why don't we make this x to the 7th minus 8x to the 4th minus 16x cubed plus 144. Let's try this one. Now we'll try the same thing. We'll do by grouping. We got x to the 4th times x cubed minus 8. And if I take 144 divided by 16, Nope, that's x cubed minus 9. Let's change this over to x to the 7th minus 16x cubed minus 8x to the 4th plus 144. I wrote this as factoring. I'm wondering if I was wrong. I am wrong. This is wrong. Let's make this a 9. So that's a 9. I wrote my problem down differently than I wanted. If I make that a 9, this works. So now I can factor out x cubed minus 9, and I have x to the 4th minus 16. This is not a cube, so it's not going to factor further. But this is a square. This is x squared squared minus 4 squared, which means this is going to factor into x squared minus 4 and x squared plus 4. And finally, this factors more. That becomes x minus 2, x plus 2, because that's a difference of squares. All right. You got one more I want to do, and then we'll call it a wraps on this section. Let's go with 192 minus 3z squared. If I divide by 3, this is 48. No, it's not 48. I'm just over here guessing. What is 192 divided by 3? 64. That is 8 squared minus z squared, which means this is like A and this is like B. I have 8 minus z and 8 plus z. And that'll be the factored form there. I am going to do one more. This is the way I really wanted the problem in the first place. X to the 7th minus 8x to the 4th minus 16x cubed plus 128. This is what I tried to do 2 problems ago. We factor by grouping here. Take out a negative 16, and I got x cubed minus 8. This turns into x to the 4th minus 16, x cubed minus 8. This is x squared squared minus 4 squared. And this is x cubed minus 2 cubed. So this breaks down to x squared minus 4, x squared plus 4. That's this section. And this breaks down into x minus 2, x squared plus 2x plus 4. Because it's a cubed minus b cubed over here. This side is done. This side actually factors a little bit more. This is x squared minus 2 squared. So this breaks down to x minus 2, x plus 2. Then we have the x squared plus 4 there. Then we have the x minus 2, x squared plus 2x plus 4 here. So if I were to write this all, I would probably write this. This shows up twice. I would write this as x plus 2 times x minus 2 squared times x squared plus 4 times x squared plus 2x plus 4. That was a big problem. So there's a lot of things you got to look for. You'll get some practice doing the difference of squares, difference of cubes, sum of cubes. You're going to get practice with greatest common factors. There's a lot of stuff going on in 4.6. Get your practice in. Peace.